All right, we are ready to begin our next lesson. Starting off Unit 3, our learning goal for today is that students will be able to describe relationships between two decimal numbers. So we're going to talk about that for a little bit and then we'll start to solve some problems. We already know, we learned this in the first unit, that when we write each digit in a number, it represents a certain place value. And if we take that digit and we multiply it times the place value, it gives us the actual value that that digit represents. So here's an example of that to refresh your memory. If we have the number 123 and we wanted to know what value does the 2 have, we would take the 2, which has a value of 2, and multiply it times the place value that it's in. It's in the tens place value, so we would multiply 2 times 10, and that gives us a value of 20. So that 2 doesn't represent 2, it represents 20. And you can see that in the name. We say 123, so it's kind of obvious that the 2 represents 20 there. And you can think of it this way. If you had a pizza and you took a slice of that pizza, that slice represents a part of the whole pizza. Well, the same thing for decimals. Decimals represent the part of a whole. And when we think of a whole, we think of the number 1. The number 1 represents one whole entity, one whole unit. So we're going to keep the same relationships of our place value. Whether we're using decimal numbers or whole numbers, it doesn't matter. And those relationships are, if the place value is one place to the left, I'm going to move one place to the left, then it's going to be 10 times greater that value. If we move one place to the right, that place value is going to be 1/10 of the value. So let's look at an example. The tens place is 10 times larger than the ones place because it's one place to the left. The tens place is 1/10 of the hundreds place because it's one place to the right. And so here's a chart to help us represent that. We look at the tens place and we see that it is one place to the left of the ones, and so it represents 10 times 1. And we know that 10 times 1 is equal to 10, so we can see that. If we're in the tens place, we went to the right of the hundreds place, then it's going to be 1/10 of 100. All right, and we know that 100 divided by 10 is equal to 10. So in order to show place value, we use a decimal point to indicate where we separate from the ones and the tenths. So if we have a number like 12.354, then the 2 is in the ones place, and then right next to the 2, right here, that is where the decimal goes. And then the 3 is in the tenths place, and so it goes just to the right of the decimal point. So the decimal point is always in between the ones value and the tenths value. So in this first sample problem, we have the number 43 thousandths. We know that we call it thousandths because the 3 is in the thousandths place. We have the tenths place, we have the hundredths place, and we have the thousandths place. So this is called 43 thousandths. We want to know what place value is the 4, and so we just count over tenths place, hundredths place. So the 4 is in the hundredths place. In our second question, we want to know what the value is of the 6 in the number 3 and 876 thousandths. Again, the 6 is in the thousandths place, So we know that we're going to call it 876 thousandths. So we want to know what the value of that 6 is. Since it's in the thousandths place, we're going to say that the value is 6 thousandths. And we write it as 0.006. I have this question a lot. Do we have to put that 0 in front of the decimal place? And the answer is yes. We're going to put our digit in the ones place. And if that value happens to be 0, we're going to represent it with a 0. And then we have placeholder zeros for the tens place and for the hundreds place. And then we have the 6 there to represent the value that's in the thousands place that they asked for. The next question is, what value is 10 times as much as 76 thousandths? So we're going to look at the value of 76 thousandths, and this is the trick. If we want to know 10 times something, then the simple thing that we're going to do is we're going to move the decimal place one place to the right. So we're going to take the decimal place that's right here, we're going to move it over one place value, and we're going to put it here, and then we're going to rewrite it as 0.76. And so 76 hundredths is 10 times 76 thousandths. So again, just remember, when we want to go 10 times as much, we move the decimal place one place to the right. And that's when we want to make it 10 times larger. And so our answer is 0.76 or 0.76. Sorry, we do want to make sure we put that 0 in the ones place. So 0.76, or we can call that 76 hundredths. It's 10 times larger than 76 thousandths. So let's do our last sample problem. Our last sample problem is, what value is 1/10 of 0.5, or of 5 tenths? What value is 1/10 of 5 tenths? Okay, so we're going to start off with the value of 5 tenths, and this time, because we want 1/10, we're going to move the decimal place one place to the left. And then we said we always have that 0 in the ones place, so I'm going to put the 0 here. And so our answer is going to be 0.05. And so to do 1/10 as much as, we're going to move the decimal point one place to the left. So 1/10 as much, we're going to move the decimal point one place to the left. 10 times larger, we're going to move the decimal point one place to the right. And so our answer is 5 hundredths. And again, we write that 0 before the decimal point, then we have a placeholder 0, and then we have the 5 in the hundredths place. So let's go ahead and work some of your practice problems. Pause the video. When you're done doing the practice problems, you can restart the video and check your answers. All right, so the answers to number 1, the 1 is in the tenths place. For number 2, the 4 has a value of 4 tenths, and again we write that 0 at the beginning. what value is 10 times as much or 10 times larger than 981 thousandths, and that would be 9 and 81 hundredths. And then what value is 1/10 of 15 hundredths? And we move the decimal place over to the left one place, and you get 15 thousandths. So check your answers. If you have any questions, please bring them to class, and we'll talk about that when you come in. Have a great evening, and we'll see you in class tomorrow.